Hello everyone. I hope that this day is good so far. Let's just quickly go through capital budgeting. Just a short video. As you know that when we talk about the capital budgeting, normally we refer to where we invest in capital assets in most cases. Sometimes you can find that you've got different options to invest in. And again, you need to make a decision after that. You need to make sure that you make those investment decisions. Okay. So capital budgeting here, obviously, here is all about the projects. So if you've got various projects, you need to make sure that you choose the best project. And as you know, most projects are different. So you need to check whether the project can be very viable or not. As we can see here, the first method is called payback period. So this means how long will the project be able to generate enough cash in order for us to cover the initial investment. Like in this case, as you can see here, we do have a period for how many years? For 5 years. So looking at this period, let me just find the cursor. You have got 5 years. So it means at year 0, at the beginning, we invested 40,000. As you can see, this is an outflow. So during year 1, we made 10,000, year 2, 12,000, year 3, 15,000, year 4, 10,000, year 5, 7,000. Okay, so we want to check how long does it take us to cover this 40. As you can see, when it comes to this year 1, we have got 40, but in year 1, we made cash of 10,000. So if you minus 10,000, you are still gonna cover what? 30,000. So in year 2, we covered what? 12,000. Now we are remained with what? 18,000. Year 3, we have got 15,000, and now we are left with 3,000. So in year 4, we have got 10,000, but we only need 3,000 out of 10,000. Can you see? So it means at the end of the day, it will take us 1, 2, 3 years and part of this year for us to be able to cover what? The 40,000. But I'll show you this in the form of a calculation at the later stage. Okay, so this means the shorter period, the better. So if you can manage to cover your 40,000 within, let's say, 3 years, and the other person can only recover within 5 years, meaning your recovery method is the best as compared to the other person, because we only need a shorter period here to show that the business is recovering the money invested within a short space of time. But again, unfortunately, the payback period has got its own disadvantages. Most businesses don't use payback period because it normally ignores the time value of money. So remember, for decision making, the time value of money is very much important. So unfortunately, the payback does not satisfy, ignores the time value of money. So that's why this is not the preferred method to decide on the project. Okay. Now, let's look at the next one, which is the next technique. So the next technique is called the net present value. What do we mean by saying net present value? The net present value is like we have to make sure that we discount the future the future cash flows to be the present values, and thereafter we take the initial investment and we minus what? The present values. In a nutshell, this means when we have to decide on the project, we can either use the payback period. Remember, I said the payback period is not preferred, but it's one of the techniques which you can use. The most reliable method is called the net present value. The net present value will help us to identify which one is a viable project. So if you've got two projects and the one with the highest net present value will be the one that is going to be selected. Remember, you can only make a decision based on the present values. We cannot use future values in order for us to make decisions. So in a nutshell, this is just a formula. As you can see, this is the cash flow for year one, the cash flow for year two, the cash flow for year three, etc., etc. Can you see? So if you take this calculation at the end of the day, this calculation will give us what we call the present value. So those present values, we will deduct the initial investment, the amount that we invested in a project. So the difference between the present value and the initial investment is called net present value. But again, I'm going to show you with a calculation how do we calculate what? Net present value. But in a nutshell, net present value is preferred as compared to what? To the payback period. Why? Because it takes the time value of money into consideration. The other method that we can use, we have got what we call the internal rate of return, guys. The internal rate of return is a discount rate where the net present value is what? Is zero. Okay. So in other words, it's where we break even. So if you find that your net present value is equals to zero, meaning that rate at which you get an answer of zero is called what? The internal rate of return. This equates the present value of the future net cash flow from an investment project with the project initial cash flow. It's like is where the initial investment is equals to the present value. So meaning the present value is 50,000, the initial investment is 50,000. So 50,000 minus 50,000 is zero. So the rate or the percentage that you find at that particular point in time where the present value is the same as the initial investment is referred to as what? The internal rate of return. Remember, guys, this video is just trying to summarize. So make sure that you go through your book, make sure that you get more information. Remember, if you have got projects, you need to select projects which you can be able to cater for. So that's why we do have what we call the independent projects. In other words, we have got different projects with different requirements. So at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we select the best project for the business. So the best project, we normally use the net present value technique to decide on which project is the best. So the project with the highest net present value is the project that we are going to choose. Okay, so those are independent projects. In other words, you cannot focus on those projects at the same time. You need to decide on one project, especially because of the availability of resources. You can find that maybe our resources are not enough to cater for all the projects. So we will end up being able to being forced to choose only one project. Mutually exclusive, it means there are various projects. You can rate them according to their importance or according to the generation of revenue. We have got 1, 2, 3 projects. We can go and select what all those projects, but we select them according to the order. Okay, so the mutually expensive, it means even if I can choose this project, I can still be able to deal with the other projects. Okay, let's look at the question so that we can clarify here. As you can see here, we have got a project here, and this project needed an initial investment of 200,000, meaning we are putting this 200,000 into the project. But these are the cash flows which have been generated by this project from year 1 to year 4. As you can see, from year 1 to year 4, we have got the cash flow. So during year 1, we managed to make a cash of 50,000. Year 2, 70,000. Year 3, 60,000. Year 4, 40,000. So it means after we invested at year 0, this is what we managed to generate as what? As the operating cash flows. Now, what is the question? The question says, using the simple payback period, calculate how many years and months it will take to recover the initial investment. Remember we said the payback period, we just have to check how long does it take us to recover the initial investment. Remember at this moment, our initial investment is what? Is 200,000. So this 200,000 will be recovered by these cash flows which we have generated from year 1 to year 4. But we want to check using these cash flows, how long will it take us to cover the 200,000? Okay, so there are different methods that you can use. So again, here I use this table, but you can use any other technique. So what we need to do, we must just check at year 0 is where we put the initial investment. And remember that initial investment is the one that we need to recover. Remember that investment, how much was it? It was 200,000. So that's why when I come here to my solution, I'm going to say, firstly, what is the balance? I invested what? 200,000. This 200,000 is the one that I need to recover. So that's why here I'm just going to say at year 0, at the beginning of year 0, I want to recover this amount of 200,000. But how much did I recover from year 1? If you can go back to, let me quickly go back to, can you see to the information there? Year 1, I recovered what? 50,000. Year 2, 70,000. Year 3, 60,000. But I'm still in year 1. So this is the capital recovered for what? For year 1. So I'm going to go back and show you. So I recovered what? 50,000. Can you see? That is the cash flow that I recovered. So after recovering that 50,000, how much will be the balance at the year and at the end of year 1? So can you see now? I must go and recover how much? 150, because I only recovered what? 50,000 in year 1. So when I go to year 2, remember, I'm going to bring this 150,000 downwards here. This is what I want to recover. But how much did I make as a cash flow for that particular year, which is year 2? I recovered 70,000. Now I say 150 minus 70, I get what? 80,000. So now I need to recover 80,000 in what? In year 3. So I'm going to bring it down there and say, now I'm going to recover what? 80,000. But how much was the cash I made in year 3? I made 60,000. So now 80,000 minus 60,000, what do I get? I get 20,000. Can you see now? Again, I need to bring down the 20,000. But how much cash do I have under year 4? I had a cash of how much? 40,000, which is more than what? 20,000. Obviously, when I say 20 minus 40, I get what? 20,000. So it means when I come and calculate how long did it take to collect. Remember, because here I didn't use the whole 40,000, I only used 20,000. So I will need to be careful. Now, I need to count. As you can see, in year 1, I used the whole operating cash flow for year 1. So meaning in year 1, the full year, I'm going to have full year in year 1. Why? Because 50,000 was used in full. 70,000 was used in full is year number 2. 60,000 was used in full, number 3. So it means it took me 1, 2, 3 years so far. But what about year 4? If I had 20 and I used 20, even year 4, I was supposed to cycle and say it took me 4 years. But unfortunately, it did not take me the whole 4 years. So it took me 3 years and some months. So how will I calculate those months? I will say in year 4, I needed 20 out of 40. So I'm just going to say 20 divided by 40, as you can see here. 20 divided by 40, I get what? 0.5 years. Okay? But remember, you can also convert this to what? To months. So if you take this 0.5 years and you multiply it by 12, it means it's 6 months. So all in all, it took me 3 years. 3.5 years, or you can call it 3 years and 6 months. It's up to you. Okay? So can you see how do we calculate, especially with the last month, year? We didn't take the whole cash flow. We only took 20 out of 40. 20 over 40, we get 0.5. This is 0.5 years. But we can convert this 0.5 years to what? To months. So it took us the whole 3 years and half of the other year, which is only 6 months. I hope this one makes sense. Question 2. If you can look at question 2, here they want us to calculate the net present value. That is the other technique, but only for year 1 and year 2. So they don't want us to look at all the years. Okay, so that's why here the table here says 1 and 2. So what do I need now? I need to make sure that I put the cash flows that I'm gonna deal with, of which is cash flow for year 1 and year 2. So what are those cash flows? If you can go and check, you will see that the cash flows are 50,000 for year 1 and 70,000 for year 2. You can also go back and refer to the question itself. But here, remember, I need a discount rate. You can either use a formula or use what? A table. Remember when we did our time value of money topic, we talked about the 2 ways of calculating the present values. You can either use a formula or you can either use a text, not a text, a table, the present value tables or future value tables. But here, because we're dealing with the present values, I'm going to look for a present value table. Okay. So if I go to that table, I'm going to show you how did I get the figure from that table. So, so the table says year 1. Remember how many? I'm calculating the net present value using discount rate of 11%. So when I go to the table under 11% for year 1, I will see a factor of 0.901. So when I go to year 2, I will get a factor of what? 0.812. So what you need to do to that particular table, you must just go and look for 11% and look for 1 year, you'll find this factor. Under 11% in line with 1 year, you're going to find this factor. Under 11% in line with year 2, you're going to find this factor. Okay, but I'm going to show you this table thereafter. It is in the next slide. So I don't want to leave this question for now. So after doing this, you just have to say 0.901 multiplied by 50. What do you get? You get 450. So this is the present value. Remember, my main aim is to calculate the net present value. This is the present value. The same applies to year 2. 0.812 times 70. What do I get? I get 56,840. So my total present value, I have to add 45050 plus 56840. I get the present value of what? Of 111,890. But remember, I'm looking for what? For the net present value. Remember when I started with my explanations, I gave you the formula for net present value. Present value less initial investment will give me the net present value. Can you see now? So at least for now, I've got the present value. And I know that the initial investment for this project was 200,000. So when I take this present value and I less that 200,000, that will give me the net present value. This is how it would look like. I'm going to take my present value of 101,890. I'm going to minus the initial investment of 200,000. So our net present value at the moment is a negative how much? 98,110, of which is not a good thing because we are getting a negative. Remember, this question only wanted you to do for 2 years. So if you can do for all the years, I believe that you can end up getting what? The positive what? Net present value. But at the moment, remember, I'm just following the question here. So please make sure that you know how to deal with this calculation. Now I just want to show you how to find these factors on the table. I'm going to go to the next slide. This is what we did. Remember, the question says we were supposed to use what? 11%. This is the 11% that I must look for. If they said 5%, I was supposed to choose this 5%. But remember, I was dealing with year 1 and year 2. So if you check here, year 1 is here, but what is the factor for year 1 under 11%? It is what? 0.901. But remember there were 2 years. Remember I'm still on the 11%. So I will check year 2. What was the factor for year 2? 0.812. If you can check, these are the factors which I've used from the previous answer. You'll see I'm going to go back and show you. So if it was 15%, it will depend how many years. So if I had 3 here, for example, 3, I was supposed to say 3, and then I was supposed to take this factor under 11% because I'm dealing with 11%. If I had 5, so the table has got more periods. So that's why I only chose up to 5 periods. Okay. So make sure that you know how to use the table. It is easier to use the table than to use the formulas. But even the formulas will give you the same answer. So let me go back and show you how did I place those figures once again. You see, this is the factors which I found from the table. Thank you very much, and I hope this video is making the difference. And then we'll continue next time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.